G'day, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the Crabtree Performance Podcast. Today, I am beyond excited to welcome a true force in the world of bodybuilding and beyond, the legendary Mike Pearson. Mike isn't just an elite amateur Australian bodybuilder. He's a 2 times Mr. Universe, a 3 times super heavyweight national champion of Australia, and without a doubt, in my mind, a future IFBB Pro. Mike's story doesn't stop at the stage. Mike has a sharp business mind as the founder of Transparent Supplements and the X Athletics, and he has even dabbled in acting. Above all, he's an all-round fantastic human being who, in his own words, is on a relentless quest for eternal glory. In this episode, we dive deep into his journey, the highs, the lows, and the lessons learned from years of hard work and sacrifice. From mastering the art of mental fortitude to building a legacy both in business and in bodybuilding. Mike continues to redefine what it means to chase his own intrinsic greatness. So get ready for an extremely insightful conversation with one of Australia's most driven and aspiring people, Mike Pearson.
As we proceed to give you what you need.
Which car? Fucking the old school truck thing?
The truck's been a mission and a half, but no, that was the BMW today, bro. It seems to find a way to get a nail in the tire once a week, so that's enjoyable.
Bro, I swear Waterloo is notorious for that. I've fucking got nails stuck in my tire in Waterloo multiple times. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, the garage for my place, there's always a bunch of work and shit going on, and like heaps of tradies and stuff coming in and out of their trucks. They live here in the building, so there's fucking nails on the ground all the time, and straight away. But luckily enough, this one literally fucking went straight into the tire, and it's like filled the gap, so it's not going flat. It's just I've just got a nail in the tire.
Bro, it'll just slowly go flat over time.
I can see it trickling down.
Yeah,
they have the tire pressure in the car, so you can just see it like trickling down slower and slower. But
so how many cars have you got? The 2?
Yeah, just the truck, the old truck, and the BMW.
And what's the passion for the truck? Explain this to me. I'm not.
Funnily enough, yeah, honestly, like as much as it's going to sound like a complete load of BS, I'm not really a car person either. I'm more an experienced.
That does not translate. That does not translate.
I know. I'm not I don't know shit about cars. Like in terms of car people, I don't know about engines. I don't know about specifics about cars. I'm an experienced person. So what that car provides from an experience. So when I was growing up, have you ever heard that show Smallville that had like
bro, so funny. Did you see the mugshot of the dude recently, like yesterday?
Which one?
So the main actor from Smallville, Tom, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
There was a mugshot that came out from him being arrested for a DUI or something, bro. He's unrecognizable. Like he was the sexiest cunt alive, and he looks like an old man yelling.
I haven't seen that.
You'll see it when you get on. You'll go on Instagram and you'll see it.
I'll have a look. But yeah, I fucking loved that show growing up. Like, still my favorite show to this day. And they had those. He had, or the Kent Farm or whatever, had those old trucks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If you love it so much, what is the actor's name that played Lex Luthor?
Michael Rosenbaum.
Oh, you know. You know. And what's the lady's name that played the chick?
The hot chick, or the one that went crazy and started that cult?
The one that went crazy and started the cult.
Yeah, Alison Mack.
Okay, you're well versed. You're well versed in your Smallville lore, I see.
Dude, I swear, like I've got that like autistic gene, but for nothing important. Like math's terrible.
I know so much useless shit. It is unbelievable. The amount of shit that I know. I'm sure you're similar with your Star Wars knowledge. Like I'll know like a race. I'll know the model of a gun from Star Wars. It doesn't even actually exist. You know what I mean? The most unimportant thing ever.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. But yeah, the whole idea behind the truck was just something I really wanted from, and I was like, if I'm ever in a position where I can get a truck that's like actually going to be a running truck, I got halfway there. I got the exterior of it, and then it pretty much stopped working as soon as I got it. So I basically spent the same amount that I paid for it in like basically it's just a complete resto mod. So it's brand new in mechanics, but it's just old school on the outside and all the like,
So
dash and everything like that. Yeah, it's got everything, bro. Like it's got a new fucking V8 engine.
I just imagine you just to turn the steering wheel.
When I first got it, dude. Oh my! If you press the brake, it would take another 10 seconds. If you like hit the brake 10 seconds before you stop.
Oh, delayed reaction. How's
Yeah.
that?
So, and then going into the BMWs, like you hit the brake or you nudge it, and you just fucking dead stop straight away.
Yeah, it's super touchy. Have you driven a Tesla?
Yeah, once.
How weird is it?
It's the most uncomfortably exhilarating thing ever because there's no sound, no visceral feeling, but you're just fucking flying.
Yeah, it's like you're in a sensory deprivation tank, eh? It's just like go, just go. No sound because like I don't know what this like, the anatomy science behind it or whatever it is, but I'm sure that when people operate an automobile, there is some component of how fast you're going or how fast you're accelerating at least by the sound.
Yeah.
You can hear something happen. So it's adding to the aspect of all right, I'm accelerating in speed because you can hear it as well, see it and feel it. But in the Tesla, you don't have that. It's just go.
Yeah, there was actually without getting into too scientific here, but I remember reading a study about the correlation between the sound a car makes and the neurological hormones, so like dopamine, serotonin, cortisol. So there's been, for some reason, well, until they came out with that studies, there was like an excess amount of Tesla crashes, even at like low speeds, because they didn't hear the speed or the force in which the car is going. So their stress levels didn't escalate. So like if that you were in
that pretty much just like guaranteed what I said. It pretty much just confirmed it.
Exactly. So if you're in a V8 fucking Dodge Challenger from 1970 and you're revving the crap out of it going 80 kilometers an hour, that like that's cortisol escalates, fight or flight escalates, adrenaline escalates, and you're more aware. You're more ready to brake. You're more ready for a crash. Whereas in a Tesla, you can be going 100. Yeah. So you were fucking bang on with that. But yeah, bro, fucking hell. People are going to jump into the podcast and have no idea what we're talking about to start. But can you see me?
Yeah.
I can.
You
got me?
Yep, I've got you. Have you got me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if people lose one sense, another one increases. So if they go deaf, their vision will get better. Or if they go blind, their hearing gets better.
Wouldn't it just be cool if you could just do like a good couple months blind, so your just hearing goes ballistic, and then you come back to be able to see, and you'd have all those fucking sensory improvements?
If you want to, you can do that. You could lock yourself in a dark room for a week and just bro, you're reckless. Is that a full strength sugar inclusive monster?
Bro, it looks like it, eh? It's those ones with the green top. Can you see?
Oh.
So zero, bro, not quite.
I was going to say, you reckless bastard.
I don't have the carbs for that, bro. Fuck.
Because in one of those cans, it's like 70 grams of sugar or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 66 carb in each one of those like full sugar monsters. And then you got those big import ones that are even more fucked.
Bro, I don't even enjoy the full sugar ones. Like I much prefer the no sugar. I'm a connoisseur of energy drinks. I fucking love energy drinks.
Yeah, bro. I was drinking those blue. You remember the blue monsters back like 2015, 2016 that they got rid of? They were damn good.
Oh, yeah. I think at the moment, the purple one's pretty good. I also like the green one. The green one's nice. Have you had the green one?
Yeah.
And outside of Monster, I like the brand Kamikaze. The creaming soda Kamikaze is fucking bullshit good.
Yeah. I used to have them at ASN, and I just take them out the fridge all day long and fucking I forget to put them through the fucking till. So we just had the worst inventory in the whole of ASN in my store. But
Right, when I worked at ASN, so I had a supreme average and I had a supreme GP. My sales my dollar value per transaction was insane. And it was because anytime a bars and drinks or a shit transaction would come through, I would put it under the bars and drinks account. So if someone got like energy or something, it was straight under bars and drinks.
Bro, that's exactly what I would do. And they'd be like, how the fuck is your sales average so good? And I'm like, oh, it's just because I know what I'm talking about. Like, you know, you live the lifestyle, people listen to you, but I'm just fucking combining all this shit together.
Same. Yeah, you stack them up, but I got caught for it in the end. They brought the general manager down and he scolded me for my insolence.
Yeah, bro. I did not end on good terms with them, so we won't go too much into that. But Darlinghurst ASN store, very interesting place to work for those who know what Darlinghurst. Yeah,
that's like everyone comes to Sydney and they think that City Gym's going to be this hectic bodybuilding gym. I'm like, okay, go and experience it yourself and see what you find out there.
If you want to see two blokes standing on a calf raise, sharing it, go to City Gym.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's not. It's pretty.
The people are actually really nice.
I'm going to try and make it through this podcast without saying anything that could get me in shit. I don't know if I'm going to. I almost have 2 times already, but I'm going to try and refrain from it.
Right, like they're actually really nice people, but it's a very strange environment to be as a heterosexual man.
Bro, it's uncomfortable. You feel like what a hot girl feels like in a gym. Like you feel like that you can just feel the eyes staring at you like a piece of meat.
And especially when you are straight, I swear there's some weird like law that let's make this dude like feel even more.
Let's turn him gay. Let's turn him gay, bro.
Well, that was my entire experience.
So back when I was PTing people, I had a gay client, right? And he was like I got along with him. He was a great dude, and he was taking steroids, obviously, and he was like he spun this story to me. He didn't know how to inject or where to inject. And he's like, can you come over to my house and like show me how to do it? And I was like, yeah, I'll meet you there before our session because he lives close by to the gym, and then we'll go to the gym from there. So I got to his house and I go, where is it? He goes, oh, I've already done it. I was like, what do you mean? He's, I've already injected. And then he goes, I messaged my girlfriend. I was like, if anything happens, I'm at this address. And he goes, sit down, have a drink. I was like, sat down. I was like, fuck. He gave me a bottle of water, and the bottle of water, it had been opened before, so the cap wasn't sealed. And I got so suspect straight away. I didn't drink any of it, obviously, but he essentially what happened was he lured me to his house.
Yeah.
To see if he could turn me gay. But obviously it didn't work out. But that was his intention.
That was my entire experience working at ASN. Every day I'd come in and the dude would say, you know, you want to go on a date this time? I'm like, no, mate, I'm still straight. And he's like, well, let's go on a straight date then. And he's like, oh, you want to go watch the footy or something? I'm like, no, bro.
Bro, they would have loved you there. I'm surprised. No wonder your sales average was so high. They would have come and spend money all the time just to speak to you.
Honestly, like even without the little like tricks that we were both doing, I think my sales average would have still been better than most. But we were pumping it up with the cans and small purchases combined.
Well, it's hard when you get so many bars and drinks transactions or so many shit transactions. Like someone comes in and gets a fucking C4. It ruins your day. It just ruins your day. The whole day was a waste. Why did I even come to work today? But I think it's one of those jobs that if you're a personable person, like in sports nutrition, because one of the things I get being in sports nutrition is, so every now and then the question will get posed, do you think that online is a lot stronger than brick and mortar? And online is very strong, but I think brick and mortar will always have a place because customers like going in and having that experience, speaking to someone, getting advice from them, but also too, like a lot of stores have a community built around them where customers become regulars. And they might come in, I've worked in stores before as well, and I'm sure you got it too, where someone would come in, they'd stay there for fucking 45 minutes. But that person would probably spend like $350 a week. So you're like, sick. But you just got to give it 45 minutes to them every now and then.
Yeah. I think, yeah, like you said, with regards to the like personable environment that like actual bricks and mortar would bring, like it's just a different feeling. Like you just can't replicate online service with, I mean, even podcasting. Like podcasting is a strange phenomenon that like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if someone had told me that two blokes having a privately public conversation would be something that people love, and like even the one with me and Dean last week got like 600 to 700 plays in like the first 3 days. And I'm like, how do people, like, I enjoy doing it because I enjoy the conversation, but listening to it, I'm like, it's a weird thing because we know that people are going to listen to this, but we're speaking as if we're private for the most part. Whereas you also then have to have a certain cadence. It's almost like a tango, like the conversation, you have to kind of direct it in a certain way that you don't think about when you're in a normal private conversation. Podcasting is just a weird, but
you've got to have a little bit of you got to be conscientious at some point to direct it. But also too, I think it's the best when you do forget that you're on a podcast and you're just having a normal conversation.
Yeah,
but it's funny.
Bro, we can go on for 13 minutes.
Has it been recording the whole time?
Yeah, I just clicked straight away, bro. Yeah.
Oh, sick. Perfect. There was a moment there where it cut out, and I thought that we might have only just started recording.
No, bro. I'm just gonna play it from the start.
Oh, that's the best way. I think that's the best way. Yeah, if I think of like when I listen to podcasts, it's funny because they like sometimes I get annoyed with myself if I get 15, 20 minutes into a podcast and I think I am gaining nothing from listening to this. Like I think it's nice that it was an entertainment aspect and I'm like being entertained and it's relaxing or whatever. But in terms of like I'm just fucking wasting time essentially. You know what I mean? And I started to get the shit to myself, but it's addictive and I'll go back for more and I'll continue to listen.
Yeah. There's some like Rogan episodes and whatnot that I will just be glued to because I'm like, even if it's not about fitness or bodybuilding or anything to do with that, like just about general life and whether it's history or something's going on politically or whatnot, like it's interesting to a certain extent to accumulate knowledge that you're not so familiar with. But there is times when you sit there and you're like,
the main ones that I hate of Rogan is when he has a comedian on. If I read the description, such and such is a stand-up comedian, I don't care. I don't.
Have you seen those Protect Our Parks where they have like the group of 4? I'll listen to it for 5 minutes. I'm like, everyone goes on about how funny it is. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not learning anything. I'm just listening to blokes that are high.
You're gaining nothing from it. And they go for like 4 hours. And also too, you can see the highlights from it on YouTube at some point anyway. So the only parts that actually are funny out of the 3 hours, the funny 5 minutes is condensed somewhere on YouTube for you to listen to anyway.
Exactly. Nah, but I'm happy to have you on here, bro. Like, as I was saying to you the other day in the gym, like, I mean, even since I announced that you were coming on for episode 2, I've just like abundance of fucking messages and whatnot.
Oh, bro. Sorry to cut you off. So you know the photo that you uploaded of you and I?
Yeah.
So to announce that we're doing the podcast together?
Yeah.
Someone messaged me and goes, oh my God, are you two having a fight? I was like, what? They thought it was a fight poster.
Jesus, bro.
Yeah.
How?
I don't think it go too well, bro. I'm very like my heart rate's not too bad, but I get out of breath pretty fucking easily.
Bro, I don't think that I'd have much of a chance against a body weight of 145, 150 kilos, to be honest. Like, I think it would be a pretty quick pick up and put down and slam me on my head and see you later. When people say size doesn't matter, yes. If you're on the jiu-jitsu floor and someone's fucking strangling your neck, they can be 60 kilos, then they'd probably be able to fucking strangle both of us. But if we're in a fucking street fight, it doesn't start on the ground. If I just pick somebody up that's half my size,
whoa, Bradley Martin. Whoa, Bradley Martin. Don't go start this conversation.
No, you know what's Bradley Martin?
Now.
Bradley Martin says this about MMA fighters. I'm speaking about just a general civilian.
Okay. We had to clarify that.
2 untrained individuals, 120 kilos, 70 kilos. If you've done a bit of boxing, a bit of whatever, if I pick you up on your head and slam you, it's going to fucking suck. Same thing.
I got two moves that I think of. So the first move that I think of would be like if I needed to maintain some distance. I think about this shit all the time. Like if I was in a situation where someone had a knife, what I would
get close.
I can't really get close. So what I'll do, I'll keep my distance, and what I'll do would be like stomp their knee coming forward. So if they're standing opposite me, I'll stomp forwards on their knee so it snaps backwards. I feel like that would fuck them up pretty well. And then the other move that I have would be if I can get a hold of them and just German suplex them, just literally grab them, and all the diaphragmatic pressure that I can generate from my power of all the years of squatting and deadlifting, just launch the cunt in the air as high as possible and then just slam him down onto his head.
Right. The amount that's having that, I swear every male has this like preemptive determination of what they would do in a specific fight. Like you've just thought about it over the years and like you're just waiting to use it.
I say to my girlfriend all the time, like, and she must think I'm crazy. I say, if we're at the shops and this happens, your job is to get anyone around us to the car or outside straight away, and I'll take care of the rest. And it's so like, I don't know. Yeah. It's fucking, it's just hilarious. But like, also too, I sort of like, in a way, maybe not a serious moment where it's life and death, but I sort of long for those moments where it's like, okay, 100%. This is a chance for me to test if I am who I think I am. Like something dramatic is happening and most people are scared to take action, but am I able to stand here, take a deep breath, observe what's going on and act decisively and intelligently and make the right decision?
Bro, that is the exact same way I think about it. And you know, the perfect representation of that, it's really serious and it's going to sound fucked up. But you remember at Bondi Junction when that dude was running around fucking murdering those people?
I've been thinking about that exact scenario this whole
I was
conversation.
at Bondi Junction. I was there that day, 2 hours before, and I'd left. And I get home and I start seeing it on the news. And I'm thinking, as fucked as this would sound to some people, I wish I was there. I wish I would have been there and seen that dude and had the opportunity to, because yes, there were dudes that fucking helped out and whatnot, but I was watching the security footage and people are like pushing trolleys up against him and throwing bollards. I was like, bro, I would run behind him at 100 mile an hour and throw that bollard into his fucking skull and just jump.
I agree with that. And I think the important thing to remember is it's very easy for us to say that from the comfort of our homes right now. When you're there, adrenaline. In that situation, it would be completely different. But I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm sure most people were, what they would do in that situation. I just think that there was too many blokes there that didn't get together and say, hey, me, you, and you, let's gang up on this cunt and beat the fucking shit out of him. One of us might cop it, but who cares?
And he was fucking tiny.
Yeah.
And he was literally
walking past. Size matters, bro. Size matters. I reckon size does matter.
And he was walking past men like this close because he didn't care. He just wanted to kill women. So if he walks past me that close, just fucking deck him.
Bro, that's why I reckon that move that I was talking about, like stomping on their knee from the front, because it's just going to snap backwards. The cunt can't walk anymore. Then you just let him just roll around on the floor. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You can't do anything after that. And you can keep distance where you don't have to get stabbed.
But like you said, like being able to be in that moment and see how you respond. Like we can say what we want. Like I can say that, 10 seconds ago. But if I had seen a woman die, I'm sure my response would have been a little bit different. But like still,
but also too, the thing that you got to take into account is like, can you live with yourself if you are there and you don't take action and something does happen? Like, can you? You know what I mean? You feel like the biggest piece of shit. You go to bed every night just going, I'm a pussy. Like, and you'd know that. You don't, like, I'd rather like have a scar from being stabbed. Like, I don't want to die, but if I have a scar forever, at least I know that scar says that I've got a set of nuts. Do you know what I mean? I'm actually going to do something when it needs to be done. But I also think, so just continuing on the topic of size matters, right? I saw your post yesterday about, on your story, you mentioned something about like people that inflate their weight.
Yeah.
So I agree. Like, I think it's stupid to artificially inflate your weight. And I know that like in bodybuilding specifically, talking about weight, on stage, weight doesn't necessarily matter because you're not being judged on how much you weigh. But I think in terms of there are metrics that need to be applied to this, right? So if you are consistently tracking your weight in the off season and it's going up and you are staying within a good range of body fat, I think weight matters because it's the indication that you're making progress.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's it's relevant to composition. So like you were saying, I think you were saying somewhere the other day, how you're in a fucking elite spot, not only from like how you feel, but how easy it has been to now get back to this weight. Whereas with what I was saying essentially yesterday is like when you have this ability or when you have this action of escalating weight to boost ego or whatever, you're just, not only does that not matter to anybody else, because obviously the judges don't weigh your, like they don't take your weight on scale into account, but you're lying to yourself. So there's a portion of that where you go, I am making progress because everybody thinks my weight is 110 and I'm in this composition when it's actually 100. And you might just disassociate that because they'd rather live in that false reality than real reality.
But the thing about that too, bro, you're going to get exposed. Like when you get on stage, you're going to get exposed. Yeah. Like people can see now that you clearly aren't 110 kilos. They can see that you're 85. Do you know what I mean? And also too, the other thing too, I feel like there's tiers of bodybuilders, right? And there's like at every show that you go to, there's probably, I want to say between 2 to 4 really good guys that should be on stage. Unfortunately, Australian bodybuilding. Thank you. Mostly everyone else there is pretty much just making up the numbers. And like, that's good because they need to be there and they need to progress and they need to start somewhere and continue to get better. But yeah, there's 2 to 3 guys or maybe 4 guys that you look at and go, fuck, this this he's a legit bodybuilder. He's really, really good. So when everyone, like almost everyone, they think they're 110 kilos in the off season. They think, oh, I'm probably going to get on stage at about 100. It's like, bro, if you want to get on stage in true shape, you're probably going to be 90 kilos or less. You're probably going to lose. You know what I mean? You always lose more than you think you're going to lose. Like for me right now, I'm waking up in the morning on an average each day. So my weekly average is 150. If I was to compete right now, well, I don't know. But last time I got on stage, I was 125. I'd like to think that the next time I get on stage, I'll be around 130, but in better condition. But I might be even less. But even if I am 130, that's still fucking 20 kilos. You know what I mean? And that's me saying that now. I'm probably going to lose more than what I think to be in true condition. And then I think that's probably the part where weight doesn't matter, is because I could be 130 kilos on stage, but look bigger at 125 because there's so much more detail.
Yeah, exactly. I think my opinion would be that weight matters, or total mass. I say total mass because obviously in regards to like composition. So you can be 150 and look like a fat piece of shit. Whereas if we're talking about total body mass and total composition, obviously in bodybuilding, representative of a cumulative amount of lean mass. If we're talking about mass, I think it matters a lot to you personally. I don't think it matters at all to other individuals, like performatively for Instagram. Obviously, the judges, if you weigh more, they're going to be able to see that because likely you're going to take up more space. But what does that weight can then convert to? Do you weigh more because you're fat on stage, or do you weigh more because you're just genuinely a fucking abnormally large, peeled human being? And there's, you were 125 or whatnot. There could have been another dude that was really happy that he was 125. And this is where weight becomes a bit of a bitch, because how many times have we seen a dude probably comparing himself to you, knowing that you're 125 or 122 between wherever you're on stage, and they go, oh, fuck, Mike's going to be, sitting at 125, so I'm going to try and stay here. But then you're significantly more conditioned than an individual. He gets up on stage having tried to maintain mass to compete with you, but they just get blown out of the park because it's an entirely different body composition.
And that's where we've got to preface it. Weight matters relative to your condition. Like, it matters relative to your condition. If you're 125 peeled, it's amazing. If you're 125 fat, it's shit. Even for me, like coming in at 125 this year. So last year, for the first show, I was like 123, I'm pretty sure. And then I filled up even more and came in at 125. But looking back on the photos, like if I think of the season that I did prior to 2024, I was peeled inside out. No fatigue management. Fucking fish and broccoli for 5 meals, 5 times a day, 30,000 steps, hitting a PB somehow every week. Fatigue was not manageable, but I came in absolutely diced. Last year, I came in really full and really big, but I wasn't. Looking back now, objectively, I'm like embarrassed of the condition that I brought. I'm like ashamed of it almost. So going forwards, I'm thinking, fuck, third time lucky here. The condition that I brought when I won the overall New South Wales, like 2022, I think it was, or 21. And then last year, like I need to put those two physiques together with that fullness, with that condition, and then I'll be pretty pleased. But it's just a hard balancing act because like carving up, I was eating like 1,900 grams of carbs for like 5 days straight, bro. It was fucked. So if I get flat, it's very hard for me to bring that fullness back. So it's like that balancing act of not letting it run away so far that I can't fill up again, but also I do want to dig. I do want to dig a bit deeper in terms of how much body fat I can actually get off.
I think that's like a really valuable point as well, because, and it's probably something you didn't realize until you had gotten to that, because what was in the season prior, the 2 or 3 years prior to when you just competed in 2024, what was your stage weight then?
My stage weight was like 115 or something like that.
Yeah, you were like 10 kilos of actual mass heavier, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, when people, like 10 kilos to the average listener right now probably doesn't sound like a lot, but when we're talking about an individual going from 115 kilograms of pure lean mass to 125 in that space of time, that's a fucking big difference.
Well, think of 10 kilos of chicken breasts. Yeah. It's a fair bit of fucking chicken breast. You know what I mean?
No fat, not one little bit of fat. Yeah,
not one of those white shit that you have to cut off before you eat it. I fucking hate that stuff. I'm so adamant about cutting every little bit of that white fat off. I'm not eating any of that. Cease and
No,
desist.
we're talking about the expensive butcher cuts.
How do you prepare your chicken?
I get it from I either get it from the butcher over at East Village, or I get it from Food for Fitness already pre-cooked.
How do you cook it? How do you cook it?
At the when I get it on the butcher,
yeah,
I cook it on the barbie out on the veranda.
Barbecue. Yeah, I think barbecue is the best way, but also too, I go through phases as well. Like I'll run the barbecue into the ground. Like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. Then I'll change to a pan. Then I'll change to air fryer. But at the moment, I'm back on barbecue. Barbecue's back in the rotation at the moment.
I just feel like the barbecue, if you cook it right, is always the best. But probably the air fryer is the most consistent.
Yeah, the barbecue, if you let it go too long, it can get quite dry.
Yeah.
And when it's dry, it's unenjoyable.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is you've had that realization that you hear people all the time say, like, when there's greater mass in terms of muscle, there's more moving parts. Dean would speak about it a lot. When it would be easier to peak you as an individual at 115 kilos than that of 125, likely significantly easier because obviously there's more mass. There's more that needs to go into that peak, but it can also be more volatile because, like you said, if you were to, get flat at 115, it would have been significantly still challenging, but less challenging to then reacquisition that fullness, from a carbohydrate standpoint, triglyceride standpoint, whereas from a 125 kilo physique, when you get flat, like there's more moving parts that can change the look like that, as opposed to when you're lighter. It's much easier to peak an 85 kilo person.
Sorry, bro, you go.
I was going to say it's much easier to peak someone at 85 kilos and peeled than it is at 125 and peeled.
And also to the amount of food, it's actually difficult to consume. Like it's actually fucking hard to eat it all. And it almost looks like you've got a gut, but you don't. It's just because there's so much food in there. And you want to obviously let that go down and be processed and digested so that you can get on stage with a flat stomach. But I remember, man, eating the food, like even after the show, I was thinking, I don't even want to go out for a meal. I just want to drink some water. I'm so satiated. I do not require anything.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I think, again, like people, the experience of bodybuilding, whether it's prep, off season, is so individually relative. Like for you, eating that much food, people look at you and they probably say, fuck, I'd love to be able to eat that much. I'd love to do that much. But your view of it is, no, I have to eat that much. It's not, oh, I get to eat this much. It's no, I fucking have to.
Yeah. You don't, when you are tasked with eating that much food, it's like, it doesn't matter. It's just ticking the boxes to achieve the goal.
And then you got to back that up in prep. And obviously, the enjoyment of consuming more food, the physical notion that you get to eat more is great, but that doesn't change how hungry you still feel, either eating 4,000 calories in prep versus 2. If you're peeled, you're fucking starving.
Yeah, it's so true. Because like I said, the second most recent prep that I did, I ate next to nothing. And the most recent prep that I did, I think I only just got under like 4,000 calories per day. And the hunger was the exact same. Like it was starving. So I feel like even if I ate less than 4,000, I was still going to be just as hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. And people don't realize that. They always want that the grass is greener, or they want what they don't have. But, the more people, obviously there's individually, specific kind of variables in play, like genetically and whatnot. And then also, I'm sure when you weren't working with Dean, you were doing things differently to working with him. So the ability to manage fatigue and everything you were doing would likely contribute to you having less stress and being able to eat more. But people have this, they just want what everybody else has. And, when you're trying to peak on 3,000 plus calories, that's not a fucking fun thing to do.
No, I think there's just a level of acceptance in knowing that this is going to be challenging, and just accepting that it's going to be challenging and making peace with it and being okay with that, and not looking for an easy way out or around or a fucking sugar-free drink or whatever it is. Just making peace with, this is hard, this is challenging. Again, it's like what we were speaking about earlier with those challenging moments of potential altercations. It's like, this is now a moment for me that I'm in, where I'm forced to suffer to achieve a goal. How much of a fucking badass am I? Am I going to take this on with an attitude of, oh, what's an easier way to get around it? Or am I going to sack up, be a hard motherfucker, and just go, all right, bitch, let's go. Let's take this head on and just embrace it.
Yeah, I think that will absolutely be like a key piece of information for people listening to this that are potentially not prepped before, or like I've been fortunate enough to be able to like, you know, kind of develop a lot of younger guys coming through, and they've gone from being a beginner in terms of training and nutrition to someone who has habits of a bodybuilder and is, you know, in line to compete or has competed. And one thing I think that a lot of people, and I said this to one of my athletes the other day, and we were talking about a deload, and he was like, he'd been in a 0 rep and reserve for about 2 weeks. And this was probably his first extended block that he's ever done, where his training, not only his training efficiency, but his execution, his load volume was actually quite substantial for him. And he said to me, "Hey bro, like, do you know when we're going to have a deload? Like, question mark, question mark." And I said to him, when it's necessary, but what you need to understand is like, you should be longing for more hard work. You shouldn't be longing to get a way out. You shouldn't be longing for the easy work. If I was you, I'd try and change that mindset to, oh, fuck, I hope I get to beat myself comparatively to last week. Obviously, there's a point where that no longer works, but so many people, especially young people in the industry, whether it's social media or whatnot, that's created this kind of, notion that everything's supposed to be easy. So many of these guys want the easy way out. They want it. What's the easiest way I can do this? What's the least challenging way I can do this? Whereas, yes, there's doing it easily, but then there's doing it smart and hard. Smart and hard is the way to go, because it develops characteristics that then translate to other areas of life and whatnot. And I think there just needs to be more of an acceptance that, like, the reason so few are good at this, like you said, you know, at a state show, there's probably 3 to 4 dudes that are in contention and everybody else is kind of on their way or a journey, but not really. Like, the reason there's so few people that are actually high level at this, even in Australia when there is a lot of competitive quality, is because people aren't willing to sacrifice and aren't willing to do the hard stuff for extended periods of time, but also find the ability to enjoy the shit out of the hard stuff.
I completely agree. And I think that might be difficult for people to understand, because for me personally, not to humiliate myself, but going hard is the easy part. Going smart is the hard part. And when I say going smart, I mean being able to know that not training today is going to serve me more benefit than actually training, because I want to be in there. I want to be thrashing myself. I truly enjoy it. I want to be bleeding. But doing it hard but smart, incredibly valuable thing for people to learn to do early. And that is definitely one of the benefits of having a coach, because instead of me personally, should I have the day off or should I train? Should I deload or shouldn't I deload? Should I stop? Am I being a bitch? And that's probably the biggest one. Am I being a bitch? It's like, no, you're not actually being a bitch. It's actually an appropriate time to take a deload. And by taking this deload now, that's going to mean that I can come back even harder than before and actually enjoy it again. But also, too, cultivate more enthusiasm, because when you're flogging yourself, for some people, the enthusiasm can start to die away. Taking the extra rest days, like for me now, I won't train any more than 2 days in a row. I'll do 2 days on, 1 day off, because if I go that third day, my performance is going to be impacted and I'm going to hit that point of overreach and I'll probably start to regress rather than progress. So 2 days in a row for me is absolutely perfect in terms of allowing enough time for recovery, maintaining enthusiasm, and being able to get the absolute most out of what I'm doing in the gym.
Yeah, I think the point you make about maintaining enthusiasm as well is an interesting one, because I mean, one thing that I've spoken about a lot with some of my athletes, especially like I said, those kind of earlier ones in their journey, is the ability to develop the necessary need to develop the ability to just give 100% effort, even if your desire or enthusiasm, as you said, isn't necessarily there. Because when you first start out in the industry, everything is fucking overwhelmingly stimulatory. You've got fucking supplements, you've got new machines, you've got new exercises, you've got new growth. But 10 years in, 7 years in, things become more monotonous, things become repetitive, things become, things you've done before. And there's less of that. Like, it's an interesting one for me, because I love the feeling of going into the gym, or I love the feeling of completing a workout like a leg workout or a quad workout that's just excruciatingly challenging, so much so that I feel like the person next to me couldn't have done that.
Yes.
Whereas going into that, I am fucking petrified. I don't want to do it. My desire to then do it is fuck all. Like, I'm driving to the gym and I think I'd rather be sitting on the couch right now watching a fucking TV show or movie. But having the ability to still fucking do that and give 100% effort, knowing that afterwards you're going to reap the benefit psychologically and physiologically, obviously, of having completed that is another skill that I think people, either kind of can develop or essentially need to just have from other external avenues throughout life.
I think for a lot of your younger guys that you're coaching, one skill that they will learn over time is how to manage the central nervous system a bit better in regards to training. So if there is a big leg day coming up tomorrow and you're thinking about it today and you're obsessing over it and this and that and can't stop thinking about it, you're actually putting yourself into a state of fatigue before you even get in the gym. So a skill that I've been able to develop, because I used to do the exact same thing, but a skill that I've been able to develop is to not think about it, to not even think about it at all. Like, I'll know what I'm training tomorrow. I've been following the program for long enough that I'll know the exercises that I'm doing, but I don't think about the numbers. I don't think about that. All I know is I'm going to go in there and go hard as fuck no matter what it is. But I don't think about it until I get in there. When it's an exercise like an RDL or a hack squat or something that's pretty challenging, I don't think about that exercise until I've started warming up, and then once I'm at that top set, that's when I really pull the trigger, and that allows me to get the most out of it because I'm not coming into the session fatigued, and I'm maintaining, because the way I think of the central nervous system in regards to training is it's a gun with only a very specific amount of ammo per session, and you can only pull that trigger so many times before you've got no ammo left. So you want to save that ammo for that exact right moment that you need to pull the trigger and get the absolute most out of it. Because the technique that I've been using lately, as fucked up as it is imagining one of my dogs is getting crushed by a car. And that I can use that once because it's such an emotionally taxing thing. If I truly envision it and put myself in that place, it's so emotionally taxing that I can only use it once per session. So I save it for that exercise and that set that I know is going to be the absolute most challenging. I'll spend like 2 or 3 minutes before that set thinking about it, putting myself in that place. And then once I grab the bar or get under the weight or whatever exercise it is, I fucking go for it. And it's crazy how much it actually works. It's crazy how light everything feels.
Yeah, I mean, 2 points with that as well is with regards to that gun that you were saying. Like, I think as well, the amount of ammo that one has, I think is pertaining to how strong or how heavy or how much tonnage they lift. So for you, being as strong as you are, as heavy as you are in general, the fatigue is already there carrying around that body weight. So you might have 2 shotgun shells and that's you're done. Whereas, old mate starting out who's 65 kilos, he probably has a fucking machine gun worth of ammunition that he can fucking blow before he then reaches that point. So also assessing and knowing, where your point is relative to your central nervous system fatigue, because regardless of how strong you are relative to body weight, total mechanical tension is total mechanical tension. If we weigh the same, and you do, fucking 700 kilos on or fucking whatever, and I do 300, there's a significant more amount of stress being put through your body, regardless of weight, that because of that external factor of load. And that's obviously you're going to use more ammo doing that than I would, more than likely. So there's that. But then also with regards to what you were saying about, what was that last point you were saying?
I don't even remember. I was talking about the ammo. Oh, and then I was talking about the visualization of putting myself in the circumstances where it requires me to lift something, getting emotional about it.
Yeah, bro, that's actually like proper scientific reason. Like we were speaking about with the car before, flight or fight, that adrenaline-based response will then, and you can trick your body into that over I can't remember the specifics of it, but you can essentially manually engage that response in your body if you practice that over time, over a short period of time, every so often. It might be, just for reference sake, it might be once a week or, twice a week or not, whatnot. But I remember even Eddie Hall speaking about it when he did that 500 kilo deadlift.
100%.
And he was pulling that off his family and he's fucking, it fucking works if you have the ability to kind of
chill. That shit gives you chills. And it's also too, it's like when you get to that weight or that point in the program, because like right now for me, in my personal experience, I'm at that top end of strength where I could probably fucking lift anything right now. But I know that I can't maintain this. But I'm peaked right now to be incredibly strong because the way I start a program pretty light generally. And then I'll progress towards that. So I'm like 7 or 8 weeks into a program now, and I'm pretty fucking strong. And for me now, I'm getting to that point where I'm touching weights that I haven't touched before. So I'm in PB territory consistently each week. And I know each time I'm about to lift a weight that I've never lifted before for an amount of reps, if I don't do this right now, I'm not going to fucking get this chance again. And I'm really motivated in the gym by a performance-based goal. I find it very fun. Like all the old school bodybuilders that train with Charles Glass that just do that, feel it here, feel it there. Like, man, I wouldn't enjoy that. Like I do enjoy getting a pump, absolutely, but I really enjoy performance-based goal. Hitting X for X amount of reps is really fucking motivating to me. And it's just like I said, if I don't do this now, I'm not going to get this chance again for another 2 months because I'm going to have to work up to it. You know what I mean? So it's like, do it fucking now or it's not going to happen again for even longer. And I'm at that point now where I won't mention any names, but I've got a specific lift that I'm going to hit next week that I've like created a grudge match with a high profile person in the industry that they might know that we have this grudge match. They might not. But either way, when I achieve this lift, which I've never done before, next week, I'm going to be fucking letting them know about it on social media and calling them out and create a little bit of controversy about it. But again, I haven't done it yet. So even now, like this is almost me putting myself out there so that when I'm approaching that lift next week, but fuck, I've spoken about it on the podcast now. I've been visualizing, I've been working up to it for 2 years. I have to do this now.
I think it's for me coming from playing like a million different sports growing up and having those specific performance-based goals, whether it was execute X amount of this in training or, you know, do this, or you need to have this amount of possessions in a game of footy, Aussie rules for those Sydney people listening, or vice versa. Like my whole upbringing was achieve this by this date or achieve this by then. And I think I love, you know, I like the idea, like I still haven't fucking competed, which, you know, it fucking blows people's minds.
Haven't you?
Still haven't competed.
Fuck.
No. So
no, I haven't seen any stage photos. That makes sense. I just assumed that you had.
No, so I did a prep for season. I was 21. Did a prep for season A 2020, and that was 20 weeks long. 2 weeks out, dislocated my shoulder. Had to have surgery on my labrum. So I couldn't lift my arm above my head, and that was okay. Like the process in which I was like very similar to yourself to get there was with another coach. It was now that I'm in the position that I'm in from a coaching standpoint and the knowledge I have, like the injury was basically inevitable based on what I was doing in a variety of different variables. And then the one with Dean was obviously the one with all the heart complications that came out of nowhere just from birth. So that was 2023 season C. And now we're quietly moving
towards. How annoying is it for you having to justify every time that you have a heart issue saying that it was like genetic? How annoying is that? Because people, I'm sure, instantly assume, oh, he's fucking taking heaps of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And no, I think the hardest thing for me is like you see people pull out of prep all the time because it's too challenging, or they don't want to sacrifice what they're sacrificing anymore, or they're too hungry or whatever. For me personally, without sounding like an asshole, like it's relatively challenging regardless, but prep is fucking easy compared to the off season. I'm in this zone where I'm cognitively functioning like a fucking wizard. My work is improving, my training, I get stronger pretty much up until like 4 or 5 weeks out. And then even still, I'm maintaining load, and I could be, 10 to 20 kilos down comparatively where I started prep. My whole life just becomes more efficient in prep. I fucking enjoy it. It's never something that I've not wanted to continue and then get up on stage. Like everybody has those, oh fuck, what if I embarrass myself on stage and I don't look as good as what I think I do? But like the desire to stay in a prep, I've never had the notion of, oh, I'm just going to pull out because it's too hard. But having stopped 2 preps from no fault of my own, quote unquote, it's something that I fucking hate. That I hate being associated with stopping or quitting.
Yeah. Fully. Well, that's good because that's cool. That you just use that as fuel, man. When you do get in, when it is time for you to get in shape for a show, like what stronger fuel could you have than You know, you're getting to that last couple of weeks, and it's getting tough. I've got to fucking prove all these motherfuckers wrong and shut all these cunts up. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
I think a lot of people. Sorry, you go.
I was going to say it's going to feel fucking euphoric, is what it's going to feel like.
Yeah,
like obviously,
absolutely.
very different situation with yourself having obviously, you know, you're another universe champion and obviously super heavyweight champion many times. But obviously, I've had 2 preps that I was really happy with that then were stopped, and I'm sure you had 2 preps where you were really, obviously, in my opinion, and I'm sure many others, probably honestly in the first instance, I thought you were turning pro. You ended up being 1 place away or whatever it was. Now, the most recent season, I think it was probably very, very similar. So I've had those 2 instances where I've had that not go to plan in a different way. And you've probably obviously had those 2 instances where it's not gone to plan. But that, as fucking much as it sucks for both of those retrospective, you know, outcomes in the time, when it does happen, I'm inevitably going to get on stage. You're inevitably going to turn pro. I'm confident enough to go say that. Like that is that feeling because you've had those experiences. It will be so much sweeter in both of those.
That's exactly. I couldn't agree more with what you said about the experiences, because you're gaining experience because you've done 2 mock preps. You've gained experience, so you're not getting into something you don't understand. Do you know what I mean? And also, too, from my point of view, I think that in order to be a successful pro, you need to be prepared to compete at a pro level. And what that requires of you might be to actually accumulate multiple national titles before you step on a pro stage. Because someone mentioned it to me the other day, something that Lee Pre said once. He said a lot of people, they turn pro and they take 2 to 3 years off to put on size. Well, if you're ready to be pro, you shouldn't be taking 2 to 3 years off to put on size. You should just be ready to go. And we see that now. Like, I'll say it, like, no offense to anyone, and I think they know themselves when they go to bed each night. We have a lot of pros that are going to never do well on a pro stage because they've done X, Y, and Z to get their pro card. And they need the 2 or 3 years to put on size. Where for me personally, I know I'm not a professional yet, so they might be able to use that against me. He's not even a pro, but I'm pretty sure I'd kick most of their asses. But also, too, I have accumulated multiple national titles now, so that by the time that I do step on, do qualify as a pro, I'll be ready to compete as one, because I've accumulated this experience, and every time I've gotten on stage, I've gotten better and better and better and better, and I'll do the same thing again next time. But yeah, I think those experiences, that's your fucking, like, bro, that's your retirement fund. Like, that's your currency, that's your bank account. It's building up each time. It's getting more and more and more and more. So your resources are more.
As I said at the start, bro, I'm an experienced person, so I don't look at those preps and think they were a waste of time. Like, they've allowed me to accumulate experience, and especially that first prep that I spoke about when I was being coached by a different individual. Everybody, people know who it is. I won't name any names. They don't really coach anymore, but like with that, I was able to learn from that experience, and I've taken that into my own coaching as essentially what to never do. So I wouldn't have had that fucking notion of what to not do with athletes, both from a psychological perspective and also like an actual evidence-based and education-based, you know, practice. Like, that was the best, you know, lesson in regards to that. And I'm happy that I went through those things so that none of my athletes, whether it's, you know, fucking Kane Moss, who's competed in the Amateur Olympia Japan and, you know, going to do wonders, and, you know, or whoever, experienced or non-experienced, they never have to experience those things. And, you know, as you said, experience, it's just building those experiences over time, and then it will be fucking sweet.
Well, it's like you said, you mentioned you had the shoulder injury, and that was conducive of the things that you were doing leading up to that. And we know that injuries aren't always specifically the event that caused the injury. It's what happens in the lead up to that event.
Yeah.
So it might have been, you might have lifted your arm one way and it just snapped, but it wasn't because you lifted your arm up. It was because you were executing an exercise incorrectly for such an extended period of time that it was degrading the quality of that tendon. And then when it moved that way, it snapped.
Bro, do you know how I did it? I dislocated my shoulder when I was in that prep 2 weeks out. I leant in to pick up a dumbbell out of the rack, and my shoulder just came out.
Oh.
So I was reaching down below.
Fuck. Yep.
And it just popped straight out. And you know what I always fucking, have you ever seen Toy Story where fucking Potato Head's pulling on that thing and his fucking arms stick to the thing and he comes flying off backwards? Bro, that's exactly what it was like. And then I ran to the bathroom, and I was trying to hold my delt, like literally, it felt like it was going to fall off. I ran into the wall to try and push it back in because nobody could help me. And then I lifted my arm up above my head and ran into the wall, and it clicked back into place, which was more excruciatingly painful than it coming out in the first place. But because I basically charged the concrete wall with a desiccated shoulder twice to get my shoulder back into place, I just completely destroyed my delt in the process.
That's what they say. That's what they say because I'm sure you know Yuri Prohaska, the light heavyweight in the UFC. Yeah. He dislocated his shoulder, and it doesn't always seem to when it comes out that fucks it. It's when people try and put it back in. That's when they fuck it. Yeah, you need if anyone's listening to this and they dislocate their shoulder, just wait until you get to the hospital. I was just like, I want this back in right now. I'm gonna fucking run into the wall. And like my dad had shoulder dislocations back in country footy, so he always kind of just fluffed around with it. But I should have taken note of that because he's got fuck shoulders now. But another point I wanted to make about what you were saying before with the Australian pros, and obviously it's not everybody. Like there are some quality Australian pros that have competed, and obviously they might not have had huge success. I mean, fucking Cam George did pretty well. Aaron's been to Olympia. Cam George, he got top 5. I'm pretty sure top 5 was his best that he got at one of the shows. That had legends in it, like Dave Henry. So there are guys doing things. So please, I wasn't like discrediting everyone. Yeah,
there are some that have actively even said in the lead up to that what they're doing is basically their retirement card. And I mean, like, if they're the best on the day, they're the best on the day. It is a little bit frustrating, obviously, for the others that are competing in that as well. Hold on, you frozen again.
Yeah, I'm back and you're back. My frozen has gone.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say, yeah, it's obviously frustrating for those that are competing as well to probably know that the person that's been subjectively judged to be better than them is not going to use what they would have. But, it just, like you said, with regards to building those experiences in any other sport. And I was actually speaking about Dean with Dean when I did his podcast like half a year ago. In what other sport do you turn professional and you're not expected to compete immediately? If I'm in fucking Cage Warriors and I'm fucking fighting in the middle of Ireland and they draft me to the UFC, I'm expected to fucking fight against professional UFC fighters straight away. If you're an AFL player and you get drafted from under 18s, they're paying you fucking $500K a year. They're expecting you to play within 6 months. Every other sport you have, as when you turn pro, you're a fucking tennis players turn pro at 15 years old. Whereas for bodybuilding, it's, hey, let's turn pro and let's take 5 years. I'd rather lose repetitively, turn pro when I'm ready to actually fucking get up against and stand next to pros, whether it's a men's physique competitor, whether it's classic, whether it's bodybuilding, whatever, bikini. I think that's just such a better way to represent the sport as well.
Yeah, you want to be active. Yeah. I agree. I think that's a really good point, man. Yeah, you should be ready to go pretty much straight away. Like, obviously, getting in shape is not always easy, and it does take time. But maybe 1 year, because you might want to finish your prep and have a bit of a break because it's so mentally challenging and whatever else. But like, ideally, you'd like to think regional show, pro qualifier, fucking pro show that same season.
Yeah.
Like that's a dream outcome.
That would be the sick way to go about it. One thing I was gonna ask you, and we spoke about it a little bit at the gym the other day, was I said to you that you are very influential without being an influencer. Now, I'm sure that that's something that you have not done intentionally, but where do you think? Because I think when I posted you on the story saying that you were coming on the podcast, obviously I had plenty of response to that and a lot of different questions, some on which we've already touched on without even going into it. But I was saying to a few people that were messaging me about the questions, like, oh, I love to hear from Mike, or his opinion on this or that or whatever. I think that you are obviously influential without being an influencer, but also I think the quality that makes you that is you are extremely personable or extremely relatable while also being extremely unrelatable. And what I mean by that is physically, stature-wise, physique-wise, to a lot of people, incredibly unrelatable. they will never possess the amount of lean mass that you have on your physique. Whereas from a person standpoint, you're someone who says what they think, believes what they believe, enjoys what they enjoy, and you don't performatively create that. Like, back in the day when I was first coming through Instagram, people that you'd look up to, everyone seemed to love, regardless of physique, they seem to love the content creators like the Christian Guzman, or if he competed on an Australian bodybuilding stage, he'd come 10th. Whereas they just liked the content because it was performative, it was, influential or influencery. Whereas I think there's a shift now, and it's probably in your favor as well, where people just want a little bit more realism and raw, reality from their people that they look up to and aspire to be like, more ability to kind of be personable with them, and just in the nature of who you are. And I mean, I don't know if you remember, bro, but fucking hell, like this takes us back. I met you in 2016 at the Arnold Classic. We got that photo. I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah. And you were hanging around with Adrian then. I remember Adrian, I didn't even know it was in the thing, but that's how. And I remember you just did a photo shoot with Strike Studio.
Yeah,
that's how.
God, that's a good memory. And then I got you. You were with Cyborg at that point, and and you signed a poster for me. I stuck it up on my wall when I was 17, and you would have been junior NABA, and you signed it for me and everything. Yeah. I sent it to you on Facebook and messages, and you were like, "Oh, thanks, bro. Like, appreciate it." Blah blah blah. And here we are talking on the podcast. But
crazy.
What I was going to say is, like, I've always had that I've always been drawn to people who are a little bit more personable and real and raw. And then there's a cohort of the industry, at least when I was coming through, 2016, 17, 18, probably all the way up until a couple of years ago, it was very focused on that kind of movie-like performative influencing content, like the Christian Guzmans, like the David Lades and all that type of shit. Whereas now it's obviously trended a little bit differently. What would you say has kind of made you that way in terms of the way you go about how you converse, how you promote? Like, is it your experiences in early life? Is it just who you are? Obviously, I know you've spoken a bit about, some of the work that you did with Lizzie, through working with Dean and kind of like mindfulness and whatnot. But where do you kind of see yourself in that kind of realm of influencing, I suppose?
Well, first of all, thank you. I feel like you just gave me a massive compliment in a few different ways from how that little spiel that you gave. So thank you. But honestly, like what you said about being relatable and unrelatable, I was in a store the other day visiting a store manager, educating them on our products. And he was just blown away, like asking me this and that. And I said to him, bro, one day you'll be enormous as well. And the funny thing is, you won't feel any different. Like you'll still feel like the exact same person. You're just a bit larger. But I think for me, I don't do anything to try and be noticed. I'm doing things because I want to do them. So I'm not pursuing achieving the best physique I can achieve so that people follow me or like me. I'm trying to achieve the best physique that I can. I'm pursuing that so that to satisfy something within myself. It's not about trying to prove anything to anybody. It's about doing it because I genuinely want to do it, and I would do it if Instagram didn't exist. I would still be doing the exact same thing that I'm doing anyway. I'm not doing it because Instagram exists. And I think that we know there's people that do specific things because Instagram exists, and it's good that it exists because it's helped me build a business that's, moving in the right direction consistently. But I think it's just because I do things because I want to do them. Like, I think that a lot of the people now that are successful in the industry, if we were in the magazine era, no one would know who they are. Yeah. But there would be guys that people know who they are because they are respected for their achievements, not because of what they portray. So I'm personally someone that would rather be respected for my achievements rather than what I can portray or convince people to think who I am.
Yeah. I think that goes hand in hand with, like, I was saying, I can't remember who I was saying to the other day, but there seems to be in the industry, and it was like you said, people doing things for other people. You are noticed because you've created yourself to be noticeable on your stature, on how you engage. You haven't become noticed because you've tried to put yourself and insert yourself into places where you haven't earned that. Whereas there's so many people in this industry, and I've sometimes, had the unfortunate case of even working with them at times and not realizing that. But there's a lot of people, like even coaching, there's a lot of people who want to be coached just to say they're being coached. So they feel like they're a part of something, even though they're not going to do the work. But what I think people can take away from you is you've gone about it because of the intrinsic values and drives that you have based on a variety of different reasons as to why you want to be the best bodybuilder you can. Whereas so many people try to, or put so much effort into pretending to be a certain way, to look that way for other people, even though they know intrinsically that's not who they are. Whereas if they just put that same amount of effort into actually becoming that person, yes, it would take longer, but they would actually then be there really for general in reality. And people would then view them that way without them having to kind of promote themselves that specific way. I could say a million times, if I had no athletes and I was a shitty coach and whatnot, I could still go out and say, I'm the best coach. I know this, I know this, I know that, I know that. And if I don't have the results, no one's going to fucking believe that. Whereas if I just get the results, I execute for my athletes, and people see that, they make that assumption on their own because I put the effort into becoming what I intended. And I think that's such a problem for whatever reason within the industry. I think that quick, instant gratification, people want to be something straight away so people follow them, they can make money, they can have financial success. Whereas the longevity of what you're doing, what I'm doing, would be better served just actually putting in the effort to become that thing. You becoming a professional bodybuilder, putting in the effort to be there, me doing, achieving potential in coaching and whatnot. And it's hard to get that across to people that, hey, bro, instead of putting all your time and effort into seeming a certain way on Instagram, but behind the scenes being a completely different person, if you just fucking exist and develop yourself in that way, people will view you the way you want to be viewed right now.
Fucking oath, bro. There's a quote. It says, stop arguing about what a good man should be and just be a good man. Just fucking be that thing. Don't pretend to be it. Just be it, and be it consistently for an extended period of time. And if you're good at it, people will notice. If you're not good at it, find something you are good at. But stop pretending. Don't pretend. Just be that thing.
Yeah. Before we get into the questions from some of the listeners who were sending some through, mate, I have to tell you, I've obviously tried pump juice before and a bunch of those products. But I appreciate you sending me the care package. It was fucking nice. I can't remember what flavor I tried last night that was in the thing. I think it was the Mountain Dewy one.
Where?
Yeah.
Mountain Juicy.
Yeah. Bro, for whatever reason, obviously the actual product, I looked fucking great at the gym last night. I felt pumped as fuck. In terms of, and I just had 2 scoops. It was fucking nuts. But what it did, man, it was weird. And I haven't had this in a long time because I'm not someone who takes a lot of I take a little bit of non-stim here and there, probably a couple times a month. I don't use pre that often. But back in the day when I very first got into the gym, it was something that I did religiously because obviously I was like, this is cool. I love the supplement stores. I love taking supplements and whatnot. Fucking little natty scum taking all my fucking subs that didn't do anything. But in terms of the pre and whatnot, bro, I got in the elevator last night to leave, and I had a sip because I just wanted to taste it. Bro, immediately I had this euphoric feeling like I was back 17 years old trying supplements again. And I don't know if it was the taste was great, but I don't know if it was the recognition of something that tasted like I used to have when I was that age. When you smell something that you haven't smelt since you were young and you're like, holy fuck, where was that from?
You expect it to be off your head. Yeah.
Yeah.
You anticipated it.
I felt like I was back as a 17-year-old in the gym, 16-year-old. It felt innocent. It felt euphoric. It felt fun. And I was like, bro, whatever Mike's put in this, I don't know if it's the taste or obviously nootropics and whatnot, but bro, it fucking felt great.
Bro, I think the whole experience for people is important. So for me, I love I wouldn't say I'm the most creative person in the world, but I do like cool shit. And being able to create a product. So the first thing for me, well, not the first thing, but the first thing for the user rather, is when they see the tub. When they see the tub, if it visually looks cool, okay, this looks pretty fucking cool. Then the next thing is they open the tub, they see a seal there. There's a seal there with branding on it. This is obviously a bit more premium. They peel it off. They see the tubs full to the top of powder. Wow, there's value in this also. That's great. Then they take 2 scoops of it. It's a lot of powder, yeah, because it's 30 grams of active ingredients. So there's a lot in there also. So then they sip it, it tastes good. It tasting good is also the next important part of the experience. And then there's the effect. So it's that, like, as gay as it sounds, it's like that journey. It looks good. It tastes good. It does what it says it does. It's high quality in that there's 30 grams of active ingredients and 4 of them are trademarked. And the reason I fucking love using trademarked ingredients is because they're ingredients that have clinically supported health benefits and can't be disputed. And that's something that's very important to me with our products, is always using clinical dosages or doses that have an effect, because just not doing that would just be shit. Because putting products out to the market, essentially it's an extension of myself. I want to be the best. I want to be the fucking best at every single thing that I do. So that extends into my products, because I want to put things out that I'm proud to see on a shelf. Like, I fucking love walking into any supplement store, and the person in the store, they don't know me, but my products are on that shelf. I fucking love that. That is massively successful. Like, feels massively successful to me. So yeah, it's just like you said, bro, that nostalgia feeling of when you first took supplements. It's recreating that and letting the user have a positive experience from start to finish.
Yeah, takes us back to experience, bro. Eternal glory, as you said in the text.
Eternal glory in all aspects.
One thing I was going to say is, bro, do you think? I think it would be a reasonable assumption to make in that I feel as if you are someone who, with what they're passionate about, will go 100% to the end of the earth all day, every day. And for something that you're not passionate about, you couldn't really give a fuck. Do you think that would be?
Could not give a fuck. For me, asking about cars was only a courtesy. I don't care. I'm just asking to be courteous. Yeah.
I think that is honestly, like, if anyone's looking at supplementation or creators of supplements or anybody that knows you and knows, supplements and whatnot, you would be able to, even having not tried those supplements, know that because this person has invested this time, this money, this effort, and that's who they are, where they give everything they've got to the avenues of life that they're passionate about, then obviously the product is going to represent that as well. Whereas if you're someone who's passionate about making as much money as possible, then the supplements are going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, well, of course. And I think, though, like, it's like we were speaking about before with Instagram. If you focus on doing the thing, the notoriety will come. If you focus on creating the best product, the money will come, even if the margins are a little bit less initially. And further to that, like, these are products that I want to use myself each day. Like, and I, which might be contrasting to what of other supplement business owners. I actually do this shit every fucking day, and I actually love it. So when I take the products, I want them to actually enhance what I'm doing, because I'm not creating them. Like, obviously making money is a huge part of it, and it's what puts a roof over my head. But at the same time, I want to take the products and have them do what I would expect them to do as a customer who's spending their hard-earned money on them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people, I was having this conversation with Dean last week in regards to coaching, and it kind of relates a bit similarly to product creation and supplement creation in your field, is if you spend a little bit more, if you create a great supplement, the results from people taking that will perpetuate that progression of finance, of wealth, of success. Whereas if you were to tell people it's great, put it at X price, and it not be, the results wouldn't be there, and it would go the opposite way. It would go, it would be a de-escalation linearly over time, and you'd eventually, probably close that business. Whereas it's obviously on the opposite trajectory, very similar to coaching results. If I was to tell everybody how good I was, but yet not show that, or nobody have that result or experience, it would just be a complete, de-escalation linearly over time. So when you have results, they speak for themselves,
They will deliver 100%. I completely agree. If you're putting the best product out there, you might be making a bit less money on it compared to the competitor, but because it's so popular and does what it says that it does, it becomes a volume game, and you end up making the money over time anyway. So yeah, I think if you're putting out a good product or a good service, most people consider value in that. Obviously, you're always going to get cheap cunts that aren't willing to pay for the best, but you get what you pay for at the end of the day.
Dean said a really good thing about finance last week, that I think once you start accumulating X amount of money, especially like for me, my parents were middle class. Like, I didn't grow up in fucking like ridiculous wealth, and like a lot of Australians, like middle class or whatnot. But they gave me everything, and I was very fortunate to have all the opportunities. They worked really hard. But when you do accumulate a certain amount of money or finance, it only like money is, it only goes so far. Like Dean was saying, essentially, that once you get to a certain point, once you've got to that point where you can live a little bit like more financially free, you don't have to buy the cheapest hotel when you're traveling and whatnot. Like those little nice things make a big difference. But after that, money is just essentially money. You know, I'm sure it's nice to fucking buy a fucking private jet and a Lamborghini and whatever. But at the end of the day, like, is that going to change the experience from what you had prior? Probably not. How are you going to have to kind of devalue yourself to get to that point of exponential wealth? Probably by diversifying in some way. So, you know, it's just what
There's a study. I don't know who was by it. I just remember hearing about it at some point about a happiness scale, and you may have even heard it yourself. And most people generally sit around a 7 or an 8 or a 6. They sort of sit around there. If you get a new car, that'll take you to 10. But you're going to stay at 10 for like a week, 2 weeks, and then you're going to fall back down to where you were before. So, initially you might get that dopamine hit, and it might bring you up to a 10 for a short period of time. But eventually you're going to come down to – that's why like the most rich and famous people in the world, they do the most fucked up shit to get excited. Like they need to get pegged or have orgies and like get drugs because they're trying to constantly chase that 10. They're trying to get back to that 10, but nothing can get them there because they've had it and done it all.
Yeah. It's it was hold on. Yeah. I was saying it's very similar to, I don't know if you read much into Conor McGregor's whole court thing with that chick about the what was going on in Ireland with that.
I'm pretty well versed.
Yeah. So he was saying in court, or his lawyer was saying that because he's experienced all of this overwhelming success, and I don't know if it's true or not. I'm sure there's a component, like, you know, a lot of these A-list celebrities, but because he's accumulated so much overwhelming success that the use of cocaine or these drugs would get him to a point where he felt at baseline, not even as a high. That would bring him back to baseline. And what essentially that is because he's had these such overwhelming highs of dopamine, his phasic peaks, like I was saying to you about the nicotine in the gym the other day, it goes lower and lower and lower. So then to come back to just existing at baseline, you need to do more and more fucked up shit. And essentially, you know, that's where those they kind of go down that path of ending up in a, you know, pretty fucked up position. But a lot of it's essentially unavoidable because of what's the experience they've had that's been put onto them.
But that's why it's important to pursue things, because I'm sure you've experienced this yourself. I have. The happiness for me comes in the pursuit, not in the achievement of. Like I remember thinking at points in my life, I'll win this show, and then you know, my parents will come back and they'll love me, and it'll be a happy family. And I remember winning the show and then being like, okay, well, nothing's fucking changed. But I was happiest in the pursuit. So I just think that's the important thing to note, is that the enjoyment comes in doing the work, not in the achievement of.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect note to end on before we get into just a quick couple questions. First question, bro, is from Dean, of all people. Dean asked, why is missionary pump juice plain flavor? Why is it not spicy?
Because I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory. Missionary is the most boring, stale. Like all sex is pretty enjoyable, provided it's consensual and you want to be having it. But missionaries are boring. It's not exciting. It's not exciting at all. If it was going to be a spicy flavor, it would be called orgy. Do you know what I mean? It would be called orgy with famous porn star women. But it's not exciting. So that's why it's just missionary. So I hope that maybe it was your question.
Maybe it was Dean's way of saying that he thoroughly enjoys missionary.
He's obsessed with that product. Every time I speak to him, he brings up to me the missionary flavor. He always fucking mentions it. It's because he's into bestiality. That's why. He's deeply secretly into bestiality. When he came over to my house when he was in Australia to do a check-in, he was patting my dog in a weird way. And I was getting super sus at him. I was like, bro, I don't know if I approve of the way that you're touching my dog right now.
Someone's messed with his robotic AI functions, and he's just they need to reset him on the course, bro. He's the highest functioning robot human being I've ever known.
He malfunctioned on that day. He is very robotic in his mannerisms and the way that everything is calculated perfectly.
Yeah,
everything is calculated perfectly. I really admire it, man. How well adjusted he is. I really admire him for that.
Yeah, bro. Like I I think that the best when he's speaking, I feel as if I'm listening to the Calm app before bed, but it's about something that's completely unrelated to sleep. Like he's talking to me about my check-in and what we're doing this week, and I'm like, I feel very relaxed.
Yeah.
He has
or it could be like something that you might think is an issue or a complete disaster, or you've catastrophized it in your head, and then you speak to him about it and you think, fuck, why was I even worried? It's not even a big deal.
Yeah. Right. Even with my heart stuff, when we spoke about it on the phone, we did like a FaceTime, and he was like, and I was just instantly fucking calmed by his response to it. He wasn't going, oh fuck, like how do we do this? You know?
Yeah, he's been a very calming influence for me, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's for me personally, it's a weird balance between like very brotherly but also fatherly at the same time. Second question, which we may have answered, was what was the because I'm not sure how much you want to go into it, but I remember you obviously were with another brand of supplements and a few other owners, and you transitioned out of that. Was the creation from Transparent Supplements based on the departure from that, or was it you wanted to do something that you were specifically more involved in, or where did that come from? That creation was essentially the question.
So I've got a business partner in the Athletics and Transparent Supplements, and he was working for another big brand within the industry. I'll just say who it was. He was working for Faction Labs, who do disorder and everything like that. And he departed from there, and he actually has another business doing custom shakers. So pretty much every custom shaker that you see in a supplement shop with their branding on it, even for a lot of the big brands, supplement brands in Australia, he manufactures those and brings them in. So I found out that he'd left Faction Labs, which he didn't end on good terms there. And I didn't even know this guy at the time. I just said to him, his name's Ryan, by the way, Ryan Simpson. And I reached out to him and said, hey, bro, I've heard you're not doing much for work at the moment. Can I get some shakers? I just wanted to get some shakers, but fuck. If you do something to help someone, it might come back to be a good thing for you at some point in time. So anyway, we got chatting, and then we decided to start doing some work together. So he was working with me and the brand that I was previously associated with, and we were distributing that together. And the previous owners for that, essentially, they weren't helping. So I was like, fuck, this is just not fair. Like the amount of work that I'm putting into this, it's just shit. So Ryan and I started chatting. We thought, fuck, we work really well together. The best thing that we've got from this is the fact that we've come together in a relationship that isn't friendship based. It's purely work and business focused first, and then friendship comes after that, not friendship then business, which the lines can get a bit blurred when it is a situation like that. And then because we found that I had a skill set that he didn't have, he had a skill set that I didn't have, a lot of industry experience between the two of us, and a lot of relationships in the industry between the two of us, we decided, fuck, let's start working together, because I think that with the combined powers of what I can do and what you can do, I think that we complement each other nicely, and it has a nice synergistic effect from a business aspect. So that's pretty much, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know how quickly you could summarize this, but the question was, if Mike was to start bodybuilding again today, what would you do to get from where you started? I remember there's that like famous photo of you from fucking, is it Bali, where you were like, you posted a few times on Instagram or social media? Was it like Thailand or Bali? Or
before I trained, yeah, that was in Bali. That was when I was there for schoolies, and I hadn't ever lifted weight yet in my life. Yeah.
So if you were to go from that point to try and get back to the position you're at now with regards to bodybuilding, what would you do to expedite or speed up that process and have that as quickly as possible? Or would you even do that?
Okay, so to be 100% honest, I would have chosen the people that I surround myself with a lot more carefully, and I would have done the same thing with coaching, because like prior to 2022, I feel like I trained really hard and I ate 5 meals a day. It didn't matter what they were, but I ate 5 meals a day. But I trained really hard. I took a little bit of juice, and I would get in shape every now and then. So I feel like I truly only became a fully functioning, locked-in bodybuilder at the beginning of 2022 when I started working with Dean. Prior to that, I was strong and looked okay and all that, based off training hard, eating some food, and there was a genetic component also, but I was essentially fucking wasting my time. So I feel like I only truly became optimized, as much as I fucking hate that word, and locked in at the beginning of 2022 with the right guidance, which I obviously get from Dean, and surrounding myself with the right people. Prior to that, I was really fighting an uphill battle, and I wasn't doing myself any service in the right kind, because I just wasn't making the most of everything I had. So being surrounded by the right people, but also like having enough awareness to realize when I'm not doing something correctly, that the skills that I acquire are going to need to be outsourced. So outsourcing for the right resources, definitely a huge part. But I think that takes a lot of self-awareness, because a lot of the guys in the industry that we're in, they think they know everything when they fucking don't. And it's okay to realize that you don't know something and say, like, even from your perspective, and Dean said it to me before, I don't know, but I'll find out and get back to you, which is awesome. Rather than just pretending, oh, fuck, I know this and that, it's because this and that. No, you don't fucking know. Just say you don't know. So realizing when you don't have the skills, when you don't have the skills that you need, realizing that you haven't got them, and then outsourcing them to someone that does.
Yeah. Yeah. I literally had that conversation with George, Flex George, like a week and a half ago in the whole not knowing. Bro, I don't look at not knowing like a lot of coaches do as something that's a problem. I look at not knowing as I have more information that I can gather. Like I want to know. I would hate to sit there and think I knew everything and went, fuck, for the rest of my coaching, for the rest of my bodybuilding, for the rest of my coaching, for the rest of my business, I'm never going to learn something new. I know everything. Like that would be fucking shit.
But that's also for you, like what keeps you enthusiastic is learning more, is being able to learn more and realize there is more for you to learn and there is more progress to be made. That's what keeps it fun and exciting and allows you to expand your repertoire of skills and knowledge.
Bro, my imposter syndrome is what keeps me going. Just constantly, I'm not good enough. I need more. I'm not like that's as soon as I'm comfortable, I'm like, I'm done.
And I can't remember the conversation I was having with someone, but it was something along the lines of it was actually with my business partner. We're talking about like what we've done this month, this year versus this month last year. And while it's significantly better this year, we're still not happy with it. So it's just like, no matter how, but also too, if we were happy with it, I feel like that would be a bad thing because it wouldn't drive us to do even better. So I feel like while it can be a little bit self-defeating in that you do never get that sense of happiness, I would rather not be happy because that's what's going to force me to go harder rather than if I was happy, I'd just be like, I'm okay with this and I wouldn't push anymore.
Yeah, completely agree. There was a few questions about injuries and stuff like that, but to be honest, I think you've probably covered the whole injury kind of things on a bunch of different other avenues and stuff. So unless you want to go too deep into that, it was basically just like, what was your thoughts when you're injured at your lowest point, I guess?
Fuck. Well, so let me think back to it. So, it was a very murky time for me. But again, that was something that forced me to outsource a resource. And that's when I got in contact with Paul Titus, who owns the gym Padded Performance, who's now become one of my best friends, because he was the physiotherapist that I got in contact with. But initially, like first having the injury, a lot of uncertainty. I think the most beneficial thing for a person that is injured to do is, one, don't feel sorry for yourself, accept that it's a challenge, but become as obsessed with the rehab and getting better as you are as obsessed with the training and the progress, because that's what's going to get you back to function as quickly as possible. But also, too, using that time to find something to do that all that energy and effort that gets put into bodybuilding. If I was to put the amount of energy and effort that I put into bodybuilding in my life into fucking investing in property or Bitcoin or some shit like that, I'd easily be the richest cunt in the world and I'd have the biggest portfolio problem. But I haven't chosen to put that effort into those fields. So while you are out of action, use that time to put that effort into something else, because you will be back to it. It might take 6 months or whatever, but you are going to come back to it eventually. So use that time wisely and don't get too upset because it's not going to serve any purpose. Obviously a difficult thing, easier said than done, but if you can use that oversight and try and look at your life as a whole, like from the outside overview looking in. This time will pass, and you may as well fucking use it for something rather than sitting around and sulking, being a little bitch.
Yeah. And when, like we were saying before, when you do, and if you do genuinely come back from that and achieve what you initially set out to, having gone through that experience, it's built resilience, built mental fortitude, built mental toughness, it will make that experience so much sweeter as well.
Well, I think a lot of the most successful competitors come from fucked up situations. Because I know for me, I haven't had the most glorious upbringing in my life, and I've had difficulties that have come and gone over the years and things like that. So when I go into a contest prep, this is fucking easy. I've been through way worse shit than this. This is not even remotely challenging. You know what I mean? So I think too, those challenging experiences, once you get through them, they do cultivate mental fortitude that is transferable into other areas of your life that then make other things a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah, 100%. Final question is one from me that I'm going to actually ask everybody on the podcast. If you were to have dinner with 3 people of your choice, fictional or non-fictional, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Bro, I was not prepared for this question. This question requires some time to prepare.
Bro, you should have seen Dean sat there like this for a good 30 seconds and just was fucking churning.
So 3 people, fictional or non-fictional?
Yeah, dead or alive for whatever reason. Even if you want to take, bro, if you take your time, I can still cut the thing together. It's a hard question.
Yeah, cool.
I've been asked this in the past.
Well, what did you say?
I said, I think I said LeBron or Michael Jordan, one of those, just for like mindset. I think I said, I can't remember who the second person I said was. Maybe an actor or something like that would be that I find interesting. I think I might have even said Anakin Skywalker, actually, non-fictional or fictional, sorry. And then I said Ricky Gervais, just because I think like he would just engage conversation like no other person.
That's true. That's true. They're good answers. So I think my first would be the first fictional person I would meet would be Goku. And the reason for that would be because the guy just never gives up. He just never gives up, no matter what. There's no challenge that he won't take on with immense enthusiasm. And also, too, if he meets someone that's better than him or stronger than him, he doesn't get jealous of that person. He thinks, wow, that's amazing. He admires it and wants to test himself against it. So that's definitely one person, Goku. Another person, like, this is a pretty cliche one in today's day and age, but I think Joe Rogan is a pretty standard one, because I think that he has such a well-rounded view of the world, and with the amount of people that he's met and the experiences that he's had, he's accumulated some shit that people would want to know. He's accumulated some shit that I don't know.
I feel like he's a human encyclopedia.
He knows shit. He's had so many conversations, but also too, like, sometimes when I hear Joe Rogan talk about steroids and he's not accurate at all, I'm like, how much shit does this cunt do this with? Like, he talks about.
You hear that? You hear one of him talking about gyno, and he was like gynecomastia or something like that.
Gynecomastic.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, I wonder if everything else I listen to is as inaccurate as this part.
I know, because I'm like, I know about this shit. So when you talk about it, but still, I would still want to meet him. And when More Plates and Dates was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and they were talking about Tren, and he was just like, Joe's like, oh, it just turns you into a fucking animal and you want to murder everybody and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, no, it doesn't do that at all. Isn't it funny though? Like when bodybuilders or people within the bodybuilding space, when their personality takes a swift change on social media, you can immediately tell what compounds they're putting in their body. like it's like this, or when someone becomes a bit depressed or whatever else, it's like, bro, you just need to lower the dose and just go on TRT for a bit. I can tell exactly what's going on right now. You've become too emotional because you don't even know what you're putting in your body.
Bro, it's people who never post on social media, and then they're in prep and they're about 8 weeks out, and they start journaling their day on social media from like the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed, and then they have like a few motivational speeches sprinkled out between the day every day for 8 weeks.
100%. And And two, when people start posting their checklists of shit that they're doing on social media these days, I'm just like, man, just fucking do it. Don't worry about the checklist.
It's so, bro. I spoke about that on something else like years ago, how fucking stupid that was. But also, there's become this trend in the industry, especially from a coaching standpoint, where people will list the amount of clients they have to update for that day and then upload it as like a task. So it's like 14 clients and they've got to tick off, and they use it as a way of like promoting they've got heaps of clients. If I'm a coach, if I'm an athlete, I'm looking at this cunt's got 18 clients to update one day. I'm like, what the fuck? How fucking inefficient is this person? Or how fucking...
I reckon Boss of Outlaw is going to be the worst coach soon, because I reckon, this is my theory, because he's got so many guys, his top tier ones, he's always going to give them the best attention, of course. But bro, he's just got like too many juggling balls and not enough hands. Like there's too many things going on. Like I just don't think that it would be easy to maintain a high quality of service to that many top tier athletes for an extended period of time. Like I just don't think it's sustainable. Cool. The final person, I'd probably have to choose an ancestor of mine from like a couple of hundred years ago. An ancestor of mine from a couple of hundred years ago, just to see like what the situation was, just to see what was going on and where this bloodline started and where it came from, and get some clarity around it and some definitive answers, and just see how it all began.
Do you know where roughly like your ancestors come from like a couple hundred years back?
I've done an ancestry test, and is that it? Ancestry, is that the one? Is that what it's called?
DNA.
Yeah, ancestry DNA, and it was Northern European. So I claim that as Viking. It's probably more just fucking peasant from the fields in England, but I claim it as Viking because Northern European, it's passable. Yeah,
right. Fucking Viking brothers here. I mean, that's why I got all these tats and shit.
So I've been growing my beard for like I'm not touching it. My thing is I'm not going to touch it for indefinitely until it's just too out of control. I'll trim the shit off my face so it looks a little bit tight at least, but I'm just going to grow it indefinitely and just keep doing a shaved head so I can just look like fucking what's the dude's name off God of War? Kratos.
I was about to say Thanos.
Yeah, Thanos. No, Kratos. I just got that Kratos look.
Yeah. No, bro, like fucking I did my whole family did ancestry DNA on my mum and dad's side like a couple of years ago, like 2016, 2017, and it went all the way back to Danish Vikings that were called Thompsons, and then they moved to the UK and became crabapple farmers, changed their name to Crabtree, and then it just accumulated from there. So fucking Danish Viking blood, I love it.
The tree of crabs. Yeah. So what was the most common thing that Cunt said about that last name in primary school? Surely there was something.
Well, I mean, I did not get called Taylor or anything of that sort from either teachers or friends from year 7 all the way to year 12, and it was just Crabbers. So that was like the nickname, which funnily enough, my dad had as well, even though we grew up in completely different places. And then when people were trying to like give me shit about it, which like on the footy field and shit all the time, people would be like, I at least think it's a rememberable last name, but it'd be like Lobster Bush or, like crab, like you've got crabs and shit like that. I honestly find it pretty fucking funny. Yeah.
Bro, I remember in like year 2, some kid was trying to give me shit. He was like, Michael, piss on. Piss. I kept like trying to associate my last name with piss. And I'm just like freezing for a moment and be like, you better watch out, buddy, or Michael will piss on you. And I thought that was pretty good for a year 2 kid to come in with.
Yeah, fucking knows, bro. No, honestly, I appreciate you jumping on, man. Like, it's obviously a great chat, and I'm sure in between, all of our bits and pieces and yarn, there's plenty of takeaways for experienced athletes, inexperienced, general people, and listeners alike. So, mate, I appreciate you jumping on.
That's solid. And the next fight poster will be up soon. Next time I see you at the gym, bro, you better be prepared because that knee's getting kicked backwards and I'm going to suplex you. The fight poster.
Bro, by the time this podcast is out next Friday as well, you would have done that lift that you're speaking about too. So everyone will be fucking onto your Instagram profile straight away.
Hopefully. Who's the next guest? Can you say who the next guest is? Have you got lined up yet?
After you,
Yeah.
the next guest is George.
Oh, good. George would be a good one. George would be a good one.
Yeah.
That dude has a fucking serious beard.
yeah, he does too.
He's got a serious crazy going on.
Yeah, that's it, bro. Otherwise, mate, I appreciate it, and I'll chat to you, no doubt, soon.
See you in the next couple of days.
Now turn the mics up. Turn that mics up. Yeah, the beat is nice.